What is going on, everyone, and good morning. Well, today I have a rather stern warning for you and what you need to be on the lookout for over the next couple of days and over the next couple of weeks, because a sea of red could be on the way. But we're going to start here with coinglass.com/liquidation data, and we're just going to look at what all has been going on over just the last 24 hours. So looking over the last 24 hours, we can see here that the liquidations have started to ramp up. Now, obviously, this does mean that we are starting to get some volatility, that traders are starting to have their positions forcefully closed, and of course when that happens, that does start to symbolize that a move rather strongly may be on the way. Now, what we can see here is that the vast majority of the liquidations have been longs, and what this means is that people who are betting that the market is going to go up are kind of wrong, and as the market falls, they're losing their trades, just to make it simple. And when this happens, and when we start to see these strong liquidations happen, well, obviously the whales can notice that there is some liquidity in which they can grab, and we typically will see a continuation in that direction. Now, the way in which this transfers over to the charts is that we are seeing a battle of a lifetime as we speak. So what you can see here, if we kind of just pay attention to some of the basic structure that we're seeing here on Bitcoin, you can see that we put in 3 bounces off of the same line. 1, 2, 3, which of course makes it a trend line. And as you can see right now, we are battling, and I mean battling, to try to stay above this line. I mean, we have seen the vast majority of these closes within the same little $100 range, just because Bitcoin does not want to fall under this level. The bulls are trying their absolute hardest, but whenever you see a move of this nature and all of these liquidations start, well, obviously the bulls are going to start to struggle, and maybe the bears are going to kick this thing back to the downside. Now, typically speaking, whenever we are in a move of this nature, an ascending structure, we will break to the downside. And as we are already starting to see a lot of long liquidations just in the last 24 hours, it wouldn't shock me at all to see that continue. And that's what I wanted to warn you all about. If you have long leverage trades right now, you need to get your risk management up. You need to make sure that you are prepared for what possibly could be a move to the downside, because although there is a possibility that we do get this move to the top side, which we will discuss in a second, it is more likely than not that we will get a break to the downside. Now, under the circumstances in which we do get a break to the downside, how bad would it be? Of course, that's the question everyone has. Well, personally speaking, I'm not quite sure exactly how bad it would be, but I think we would come back down to re-engage with 21.4 thousand and 20.4 thousand, this little range right here. The reason I believe that is because, generally speaking, when we have ascending structure, you're going to see your price break down to the previous point on that ascending structure, or the previous touches of the trend line. And so because of that, considering that our last 2 touches were rather recent, and that also does align with a lot of this liquidity back here, I would say that it is valid to say that some type of little short pullback, retest, retouch and retest this previous point of support and then look for continuation isn't out of the ordinary, especially if we look at this from a weekly perspective. Let's go ahead and pull this up. What you can see is that we are going to likely interact with that 20 simple moving average if we do get a move around this area, right? This is going to continue upwards, this is going to continue downwards, and then we would have some type of interaction around there, which is this recent point of liquidity again on the weekly close. And so overall, I think that it wouldn't be an absolutely catastrophic fall, but I do believe it would be rather strong. And from this point forward, that could be about 9%, which could be anywhere from 15 to 20% for most of your altcoins. There is an opportunity for us to get a bounce to the upside here, but it's just not usually what happens. Now, the way in which you can identify if that's what's occurring is just simply looking for $24,000 to the top side to get broken. If we can see the price break $24,000 to the top side and put in a new high, well, yeah, then likely we're going to start to retest some of these higher highs and maybe even see $26,000. But it's simply just not what is likely whenever we have ascending structure of this nature. And so I would be extremely careful betting that that's going to happen and not putting a stop loss on my long trades, because again, this move to the downside is somewhat lingering right above us. Now, again, I'm not all that concerned about it. It doesn't quite worry me that much, even if this does happen, because we are in a great position in this market, right? You can see here the daily RSI, for example, has seen a beautiful reset to the bottom side. We were already moving to the bottom side before the price was moving to the bottom side, okay? So I do believe that this would get a reset back towards that 30 level rather quickly, especially if we do get a push back towards $20,000. And so there could be a bigger room for opportunity to the upside here. And that is a strong possibility, right? And I want people to understand that everyone's screaming that this is a bear market rally. And the moment this thing starts to break down, everyone is going to say that we're heading straight to $14,000, start opening up some short trades, and expect that the price is about to absolutely tank, when that honestly may not be what happens. Let me show you guys a few examples of what I'm talking about. Look back here, right? I want you to remember what this looks like, okay? We were at a bottom, we came back up, and we put in a bit of a rounding off structure. Rounding off structure with a possible little pullback here, okay? Rounding off structure, remember that. Let's go back here. Okay, boom. Let's go over this. We came back up off the bottom. We put in a rounding off structure with a little bit of a pullback. We came back down to that trend line, and we continued to the top side. You can see over here something rather similar. We were right here. Boom, we put off this rounding off structure just like this. And then we came back, we saw this little bitty pullback, or even a pullback right here, whichever one you want to call it. We found some support and continued to the top side, and that also aligned with a nice little reset here on the RSI. We got a bottoming. You know, whenever you see a bottoming out here, especially on these previous points of support, boom, you're typically in a good position to see some growth. Over here, another beautiful example. Look at this rounding off. Boom, rounding off, a little bit of a pullback. We came back down to retest trend line, and we broke to the top side. We can further continue back to 2019 here. Look what happened. We got this rounding off structure, a little bit of a pullback. We held some support. We continued to the top side. We got this rounding off structure, a little bit of a pullback, found some support, continued to the top side. Now, if we move to modern day, rounding off structure, a little bit of a pullback, found some support, continue to the top side. That is very possible, okay? So don't let all of the craziness in the market and everyone screaming that $5,000 is on the way freak you out, because there is a lot of opportunity here. Now, under the circumstances in which we do lose this level of support right here, about $20,400, yeah, I think that we're probably going to come back then at that point and retest 18.4K, simply because there's not much liquidity right here. As you can see, we went straight down through it and straight up through it. So likelihood is if we lose this, we're going to come down to this level. But even then, I would still be confident that we are going to put in some type of higher low and look for continuation. Okay, so overall, the warning of the day is that we are in a position in which some type of pullback, as much as 7 to 8% on Bitcoin, which could be anywhere between 10 to 20% on altcoins, could very well be on the way. And the way in which you need to identify it is to draw your trend line out and look for the loss of this trend line. If we lose it, expect that pullback. Looking for 21.4, looking for 20.4. Those are two great dollar cost averaging levels, at least in my opinion. And I think that once we do get to them, and once the market does go red a little bit, then we could be on the lookout for some type of stronger move back to the top side. And of course, I will update you guys as that does play out. Just make sure you do, if you are looking to leverage this thing, you have very, very, very tight stop losses. Don't go into these things kind of just raw, right? Because that is a very, very good way to get burned. So don't do that. Of course, make sure you have your good risk management. And of course, I will see you all very soon in the next video. Peace.